We're on. It's Nick. It's Fowles. And we're talking. Well, I guess I would like to title this video, and I want to start this off with for everything that we talk about and everything that the media does, we do need to understand that NBA players are humans. Okay. And there's an aspect that goes beyond the court where we need to chill out a little bit. And so there have been two incidents in the last week and a bit surrounding star players and stuff that doesn't involve basketball too much. We're going to start with the obvious one. It's Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid gets into a physical altercation with a reporter. And the excerpt from the article basically makes reference to his legacy. So it's, very journalism. It's, he wants a legacy that he wants to inspire people, especially after the death of his young brother. And he also wants to inspire his son, but he needs to play to do that. It was a very backhanded compliment of motivating a player, but also it's very out of line because it's mentioning obviously a family tragedy and it's also mentioning his son.
I don't think reporters are there to motivate players, man.
Correct. So that's the point. So then it begs the question of, so why has he done it? And he's probably done it for the same reason that most people do things in the media age. It's to get engagement, right? He's been provocative deliberately. And funnily enough, he actually did a bit of a play around and find out scenario. So Joel Embiid was able to confront him physically. And obviously Joel Embiid will probably face some form of repercussion because I don't want to set a precedence because that's always what happens in these things. But as much as we talk about Joel Embiid not playing and all of this stuff, it's hard. I'm trying to capture it properly, so just bear with me. I think the reason why we struggle with NBA players not doing their job is because the money that they make in a season is more than most people make in a lifetime, right? Especially these all NBA players, right? And for me, I have had to go to work under a variety of circumstances where I really rather not have. And the fact that Joel Embiid is physically able to be walking around, probably is able to actually play basketball, and he's not, but he's still able to get all the benefits of his lifestyle. That's hard for the general public to understand. I think it is, right? Or at least I find it hard to connect with those people. Ben Simmons is someone who I haven't been shy, and maybe he does really have a bad back. I don't know, but he gets 40 million, so he can sleep on his really comfortable mattress with that money. So it's 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 a difficult landscape. So I think that's where journalists get in trouble a little bit.
I feel you. So in conclusion, you started with we should be nicer to NBA players and athletes in general, and then you had this hidden agenda bagging Ben Simmons in this whole take. I'm a little bit confused on what your stance is.
Just bear with me, man. I'm just coming at all angles. No, look,
where are you getting to here?
I think the thing is, they don't think about me as much as we think about them, right? That's just facts.
They don't think about you at all. Let's be clear, okay?
Correct. So they're celebrities, we're not. They're people of status, we're not. And they make exorbitant amount of monies. Is this part of the job? Is this part of the job to be criticized publicly, to be ridiculed publicly?
Yes.
I guess it is.
Yes. But is there a line that should be drawn on what maybe is not an area that you would go and touch? Yes, absolutely.
And that's probably the biggest conversation from this, is that Joel Embiid feels like that line was crossed, and he is going to face a consequence because, again, they can't let players confront media members like that. It's a bad precedent. He needs to be punished, which ironically probably just works into his favor because he was going to be sitting out those games anyway, so they might as well just keep sitting him out. It doesn't change really the team outcome there. But I've definitely talked enough. What have you got to say?
Look, I think it's an area where, I think I played something out just before, man. Like, these athletes, they're professional athletes. Maybe that's a key word, right? Professional. If you're a professional something, yeah, maybe when we term ourselves professional podcasters, bring all the hate at us. But I don't know, maybe right now we're terming ourselves part-time podcasters, so maybe give us a bit of love, maybe, yeah. But by the time you turn professional, and maybe the part where it comes professional means it comes with a paycheck. Yeah, clearly you guys seen we got like 200 followers right now. You need 1,000 minimum on YouTube, please. Yeah, to make about 40
7
cents.
of your friends.
to make $4, we need 1,000. Okay, so we're not there yet. But Embiid is clearly a professional athlete, and a professional athlete is scrutinized, and rightly so, as far as I'm concerned, in a different light. And yes, that's justified with the fact that the pay packet justifies that too. No one else has, the general population member doesn't have to deal with the hate and tweets and social media and funny memes of their face all over things because they're crying or whatever, and trolls and all these people online, whatever you call them nowadays. I can't keep up with that stuff anymore. Okay, but yes, there's absolutely lines that you have to remain, you can't cross, especially at a professional level. Because guess what? This other guy he's a professional reporter.
Correct.
He's a professional reporter. Okay, and that same word comes into play here. He's not some amateur reporter. Yeah, okay, he's not some troll. Okay, because that's the different agenda for that person with that title, or so he would self-title himself. Okay, but he's a professional reporter. So I think, look, I think it was a, disappointing story to have to be heard that this happened. I think maybe he'll get a fine. I would imagine. I can't imagine it'd be too much. Maybe get a fine, and hopefully, these two guys just patch this stuff up. Let's stay professional, and that's probably the key part here, right?
Yeah, I think a fine equivalent to $10 an hour average person salary is going to be how this plays out. But it's not just about Joel Embiid. Another person that we probably need to be a little bit more considerate to is Kawhi Leonard.
What's the
So
article?
Kawhi Leonard
What
is
was it? Kawhi what? Let me search it.
just go Kawhi lawsuit. Because
Yep.
it's a legitimate lawsuit that's actually been filed. So a former trainer who worked for the Los Angeles Clippers has
Got it.
fired a
Got it.
termination suit against the team, and it's actually spanning over about 4 years. So
Oh, I saw this one
he
actually. I saw this one.
was,
Yep. Yep.
yeah. So it's really interesting because we often, tried to understand what's wrong with Kawhi.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
this article highlights a handful of things, not just, that they force players to play when they're injured, blah, 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 but actually the degree of some of his injuries. So there's actual references here to the fact that Kawhi Leonard has a meniscus issue or a cartilage issue or an ACL injury. But if you could take yourself back to those timestamps, it was unknown if he was playing. Remember, he was day to day for that playoff series against the Suns, and then he didn't come back, and then it was revealed he had the ACL tear. Like, they know these things instantly. That's modern medicine. They know what's going on. So the fact that we don't get it in the public all the time is a little bit curious. And so the issue for Kawhi Leonard is that he basically has been mistreated for a good while, and it happened with San Antonio as well. Obviously these players get paid absorbent amount of money. It's an asset, it's a product, it's an entertainment system. They want their players to play, but in Kawhi Leonard's place, he needed rest, or he needed longer to heal from some of these injuries, or he has a predisposition towards them. Because that's something we probably don't talk about enough, is that some people genetically are less lucky than others. LeBron James is a freak of nature. He's very lucky still. And a lot of people aren't that lucky, and Kawhi Leonard's not that lucky. So Kawhi Leonard was basically subjected to diagnoses, but then given kind of like false expectations on when he should be playing, when he should be coming back.
This is with the
Um,
Clippers or with the Spurs?
this was with the Clippers specifically. So there's murmurs that it was happening with the Spurs, but none of this lawsuit actually directly
Okay.
relates to it.
Yeah.
So one of the issues with Kawhi Leonard in Spurs was that when he injured his ankle, it was already injured. So the reason why that injury was so severe wasn't because of just Zaza taking him out. It was actually because it was already an injured ankle that he was playing on that then obviously got injured further. So that was why it took him out for the rest of the campaign. So for the Kawhi Leonard specifically, irrelevant of how you feel about my medical knowledge, that one person in the comments, Kawhi Leonard has knee issues, and you cannot have surgery on your knee, and you cannot have knee injuries without having a bit of a domino effect. And so Kawhi Leonard seems to have similar stuff to Derrick Rose and me, which is cartilage damage, right? And Lonzo Ball is another player as well. You can't take multiple injuries to the same spot of the body and be okay. It just doesn't work like that. You can't cut someone open and traumatize the body and repair it and then not expect some form of repercussion. And that's what's happened here. His knee swells up often. That's why he doesn't practice. So remember all those reports are saying, oh, Kawhi Leonard never practices, and he doesn't sit with the team. He couldn't, because if he practiced, his knee would swell up and he wouldn't be able to play the game. So they had to make a consideration on that. That was what happened in US. That's why he's had a procedure, because he had to basically get a bit of a clean out and a bit of a fix up, because his knee keeps swelling up every time that he plays, which I know why that is. That's osteoarthritis. He's lost cartilage. It's irritation. It's all that. And that's what this lawsuit is kind of referencing, is that they mismanaged not Kawhi Leonard, this is the funny part. This guy is actually kind of annoyed that he got kicked out for telling them how to do their job because that was his job to do that.
So is this just not a
Um,
disgruntled employee?
this is a disgruntled employee who's highlighting the fact that the Clippers have asked Kawhi Leonard to play when he's clearly injured and they haven't managed his injury right, which I understand because they paying this guy $200 million. They want him to play basketball games, but it has basically jeopardized his career. And you listen to ex NBA players when they join podcasts and they all talk about the same thing. I really shouldn't have played through that injury, or they just injected me with something and I felt good at the time and then it had repercussions as went on. You look at NBA players who are in their 50s or 60s and how they can't walk. This is the price that they pay. They damage their bodies permanently, but we all obviously damage our bodies in some way by the time we get older. Um,
I feel you're taking this in a real dark area here. I don't think athletes intentionally damage their bodies and
no,
for
it's just it's what
for
you
the
sign up
cost.
for.
But
It's what happens.
is there a greater risk of injury because you're a high performance athlete and the rigors of
Yeah,
training and the intensity and repetition and volume and so on and so forth, and then the competition that you play is also a high level competition, so you have to be prepared for that. Clearly, there's plenty of players out there that have very long careers that were remain relatively healthy, and besides just old age and general aging, did not have severe injuries with their knees or any other part of their body. I think Kawhi obviously falls in this category here where he is injury prone. That's a no doubt. I think this lawsuit, and I don't generally follow this stuff too closely. I'm sure we might see another article in 2 months' time, maybe that maybe they either settled or ultimately got thrown out. Maybe there was nothing, no merit to it. I'm probably going to lean towards that way, that there's probably not much merit to it. Okay, because at the end of the day, how many times do you see a player? And I know we're talking about a junior level. We don't necessarily have all the medical stuff sort of thing, but you're just sort of saying, hey, do you want to play? I think you look okay. I think you can go. What do you think? And every player out there, you, me, probably even more so you more so than me, right? Because you kept throwing yourself out there. Yeah, maybe you can talk about yourself there a little bit, because what was your mindset? You kept throwing yourself out there, and I think you learned many little lessons there now in hindsight. Maybe you went too early. Maybe you should have done something before you went out there again, and so on and so forth. Okay, I was fortunate to not have any severe injuries. I had a slip disc in my back. That was probably my biggest one. Okay, in that sense, I was out for about 6 months, I think, 4 to 6 months. But I know I kept playing. I actually kept playing that game. I don't know how I got through that game, and then I actually wanted to keep going, but then I literally couldn't walk for several months. Yeah, and it was like, okay, well, I do have to sit now. So I think it's a whole bunch of all part pieces here of a situation of an injury, and as much as there is medical, I guess, diagnosis and ability to look into a person's body nowadays, man, there's a level of room for error still that never guarantees it. That's why there's still injuries. Yeah, if it was a perfect science right now, like in the movies, man, you could just do a scan, your body's repaired, and where you go, man. Then we're not there
that'd be
yet, man.
great.
Maybe in 100 years' time. I don't know.
It I guess the reason why the lawsuit is being there is that this guy's trying to paint himself, and you're right. I probably should have prefaced that until this is settled in court, it's difficult to know the truth, and even then, when it's settled in court, whether in or out of court ahead of time,
Worst case, they
it's
settle
always
it,
hard
and you
to
still
know.
wouldn't even know the truth. They'll settle. They'll give him a
Correct, and the
payout. You wouldn't
truth,
even know the truth.
truth and justice are two separate things. But if there is truth to this, then this guy has tried to alert them to a proper recovery time that they've ignored. If there's no truth to this, I still think, like most things, when there's smoke, there's fire, right? And so maybe the semantics are not correct, but the context is correct. And it wouldn't shock me that Kawhi Leonard, and I guess this is how I'd sum this up a little bit. Some people are better than others at staying healthy physically when they play sport. Some people are just unlucky, right? Whether it be a genetic disposition, a weakness, whatever it may be. But once you get injured, you always get injured, right? Once you have a weakness, you have an exposed part of the body. That's just how it kind of operates. And so for Kawhi Leonard, as great as he's been and as great as his career is, he does have lower leg injuries, and it's something that you sign up for. And for Joel Embiid, to bring it full circle as well, he does have lower leg injuries, and he didn't play for like 2 straight seasons. And it is unfathomable that he's not playing again. This is actually something that we're quite used to. This is what happens with Joel Embiid. He just doesn't play. Should these players be getting as much money? Maybe that's where the conversation needs to steer. Maybe there needs to be some clause in a contract that says you get paid at half rate if you have to take sick leave, it's half rate. I don't know, because the general public gets
You,
more and more
you,
furious the bigger
I,
these
I,
contracts get.
I'm gonna say you're contradicting yourself right now, man. You literally just made a suggestion that if you don't play, you should take half pay, right? But then
Yep.
the whole topic here is sort of like the players are not ready, but we're forcing them back out there again. So now they're like, I want my money. Doesn't anyone want their
Well,
money?
and this is where clearly, you know what? I don't want to be nice to NBA players anymore. This video has come full circle because I think we both have done this. No one cares if I go to work sick. No one actually cares. People
Uh-huh.
care if I don't come to work,
Yeah,
right?
of
So,
course.
you know, I understand it. Yeah, we don't want these players to play when they hurt themselves, etc. But to take a salary cut of half pay, they're still getting a ridiculous amount of money, right? I don't know. I think it's hard. It's a hard conversation because the average person is never going to sniff that amount of money that they make
Yeah,
in a
but
season.
I think now this is another, and we've sometimes delved into these areas. I feel like we're going to go there, and why not, man? We've gone there before, right? Is that this has got to do with relativity. This has got to do with lifestyle. This has got to do with, a person's expectations. Yeah. It's expensive to have a Lamborghini. When you service that shit, you take it there. It's already, I don't know how much it is. I don't have a Lamborghini. It's also expensive to rent a 10-bedroom house with 25 bathrooms. Yeah, these are some expectations here. Now you're going to say, oh well, they could just drive a Toyota. Yeah, but that's probably not going to be the case. But so it's all about relativity. You just said this before. Yeah, he'll probably cop a fine that's equivalent to $10. Yeah, and maybe that's a bit of an understatement, but that's the reality with Joel Embiid here, that he does make so much money, but it's relative to his lifestyle, okay, and it's relative to what they deal with as a professional athlete here, and what they are in the public eye in that sort of sense. So I must say I've never, of course, like don't get me wrong, doesn't the common person must be honest to say they have some level of envy that wouldn't it be nice to be a celebrity to make millions and or billions of dollars? Yeah, sure. Yeah, you'd be joking if you weren't. Yeah, you'd be, I don't know, you're a hippie that lives on an island like Tasmania. Yeah, but but the point here is that we all have different expectations and we all have different lifestyles. So I think the money is equally important. Just like you would probably go to work if you had to take a pay cut, even if you weren't fully healthy. I'm going to take a stab here. But hey, man, if you're still getting paid your annual wage and you didn't feel that well, you'd probably take that day off if you still got some medical days up your sleeve, right? I think
But do
that's
they
the
get
same thing.
medical? I mean, you know what? That's probably the conversation then. Should there be a clause in their contracts where there is sick leave? Because they don't technically get sick leave. Some people in the NBA work all 82 games and some people don't,
Well,
but they all get paid their agreed contract rate. So maybe there needs to be something to facilitate that.